Okay, I'm Mark Kempton, and it's my pleasure to introduce Erica Dutton. Erica Dutton is a nurse. She was trained as an advanced practice nurse in psychiatric mental health nursing, and has been trained in meditation. She's been a long time person mediator and has been teaching meditation for 12 plus years. And about a year and a half ago, she developed a 5-week program on changing your relationship to worry. And this presentation is a shortened version of that, obviously, very much shortened. But she's going to hopefully help us through a practice of meditation and applying certain practices of this. And she hopes this is enough to pique your interest in meditation. So let's welcome Erica.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Oh, crap, my computer went off. I'm just amazed at the size of this group. This is so cool. I didn't realize it was so active and so big. So, yeah, this is fun. So I used to work at U of M. I worked at St. Joe's. I worked at Providence. I was teaching at Schoolcraft and Washtenaw Community. I worked at state hospitals. My last job was as a clinical specialist at Michigan Visiting Nurses and providing psychiatric home care services in the home. And I loved that job. I loved my patients, I loved my boss, I loved my team. It's a great way to end my career. It really was cool. So thank you for inviting me. This is kind of cool. I'm going to have questions. I'll take questions periodically throughout my presentation. So if you have any, there'll be periods where you get a chance to talk. Let's see. This topic has become a favorite one of mine because I have learned so much over the years in meditation and then in teaching this class. It's a 5-week class and 1.5 hours every week. And we deal with this issue about changing your relationship to worry. So I'll be teaching you this particular form of meditation. It's called reflective mindfulness meditation. And then we'll have a couple of little sits, so you get to experiment with it. So it'll just be a taste. But hopefully it'll interest you, and if you want more information or if you want to take the class, just go onto my website and sign on the wait list. So my website's very easy. It's www.ericadutton.com. That's it. Pretty simple. Worry is pervasive, and realistically we have a lot to worry about. I mean, just look at what's happening in the world. I learned that worry is a part of our human condition. It is universal. It is also complex, complicated, and dynamic process. Let's say this. There is nothing wrong with you because you worry. I wish someone had told me this years ago. It would have saved me years of self-recriminations about, you can't cope. Everybody worries. I must say there's a couple of people who I've met who say they have found ways to avoid worrying, and I say go for it. It works for me on small worries, but it doesn't work on the big ones. If you obsessively worry all the time, get professional help. But most of us don't need that. This presentation is for those of us who have what I call garden variety worries. Now that doesn't mean that you don't get up at night, can't fall asleep, get upset stomachs, get headaches, and all kinds of bodily reactions, feel anxious because you worry. You may even feel helpless or hopeless, have all kinds of reactions. Worry affects us physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. Now, I tried to squeeze in little bits and pieces from my class, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to teach you reflective mindfulness meditation. This is an insight meditation practice, and it's especially good for newbies, people who are new to meditation, who've never practiced before. It's also good for people who have tried meditation and quit because they couldn't get their thoughts to stop, they couldn't follow their breath, they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. This is a very open, flexible, receptive practice, and you can't fail, which is kind of cool. This is about your experience, How can you be wrong if this is your experience? This is what this meditation practice is about. So let me give you a warning. Meditation is being marketed today as a cure-all for everything. Corns, calluses, cancer, it doesn't matter. It'll fix whatever ails you. It is so overhyped, it's embarrassing. Now, I've been meditating for 30 years. Obviously, I'm getting something out of it, or I would have quit. But these advertised quick cures should be taken with a grain of salt. What I'm going to do today is teach you some beginning things to change your relationship to worry. I'll offer some questions that you can take into your meditation. You'll only be able to take in 1, maybe 2 questions. That's fine. It's a start. There's a lot of information out there about how to stop worrying, how to manage your worry, how to deal with your worry. And they do have great ideas. I use some of them. But what do you do when those strategies don't work? What if the worry comes back again and again and again? It lingers. Or you worry about this and that takes care of that, and then you worry about that. Same process. You just change the topic. So this is where I think reflective mindfulness meditation can really make a difference, because it goes in a different direction. So we're not talking about stopping worrying or dealing with it or managing it. We're talking about changing your relationship to worry. When I first heard that, I was really puzzled. It's like, what the heck does that mean? And how do I do that? But as I worked with it, it really was a game changer for me. So here are some questions. Instead of focusing on worry itself and how to stop it, we shift to how we worry, the process of worrying. I think of it as unraveling my old relationship with worry to a newer, kinder, more realistic one. So let me give you a quote. Who said this? The unexamined life is not worth living. Anybody hear that? Who said that? Socrates, yes, absolutely. I love that quote because that speaks to what reflective meditation is about. Examining, exploring, experimenting, investigating, being curious, seeing what is there and being with it as best as you can. So one of the first things that I teach in this class is about expectations. We do a little bit of a dive today on what are our expectations about worry. So here's some questions. What do we believe in our heart of hearts about ourselves and about our worry? What do you expect to happen when you worry? Do you think you shouldn't worry? And we're asking deep in your heart. Do you wish you didn't? I do. Is that realistic? No, not really. But the desire not to worry sits right next to knowing that it's unrealistic. And it just rubs up against each other. We're full of contradictions. We know it's unrealistic, and yet we still want to stop worrying. So we think our heads run the show. I'm a nurse. I'm great at problem solving, thinking, planning, organizing. I'm sure you all are too. But in this case, it's really our heart that makes the difference. That runs the show. If what's in our heart of hearts stays in the dark, it's going to run the show and it's going to come and bite us in the butt. So it's best to kind of bring that out in the open. If you explore it, it has less power over you. It's more like, I know you, I'm familiar with you, I got your number. So in meditation, we want to see what's there, what comes up. So here's other questions. How do you feel when people tell you not to worry? Right. Or say, there's nothing to worry about. You just don't understand. Do you say those things to yourself? And how do you feel when you say that? What do you think should happen when you worry? Find an answer, fix the problem, stop worrying. What do you say to yourself when you can't stop worrying? These are the expectations that I want to explore in this teaching, in this meditation practice. So I'll give you those questions again, but I want to teach you how to meditate in this form. So there are 3 parts to reflective mindfulness meditation. First is actually sitting, and we'll do a meditation sitting for a few minutes. So you'll choose to sit in a comfortable position, one that you can hold for several minutes. But if you get painful, don't sit there in pain. Slowly and quietly adjust your sitting. So we'll sit there. There's 3 hallmarks to reflective mindfulness meditation: permission, gentleness, and curiosity. Permission, gentleness, and curiosity. Permission to follow what interests you. Gentleness with yourself when you reach difficult things. And curiosity about your experience. What's going on here? Oh, I want to see this. So it's an open and flexible practice that encourages you to use your natural curiosity to follow what interests you and to learn from your own experience. So we sit quietly, hold a position, close our eyes, and then if you're home meditating, if you go home and you want to meditate, find a quiet place to do it where you won't be disturbed. Tell your family not to disturb you unless the house is on fire. And then sit quietly and open yourself up to what comes to your awareness, not instead of going out searching for things, what comes into your awareness. So they come through our 5 senses. So hearing, like I hear that motor running, I think it's the ear. Sound in the room, sound outside the room. If you're home, it could be birds outside or traffic or fire alarms or sirens. Sometimes I hear my stomach grumbling or I hear my ears popping, so that sounds what you hear. Even with your eyes closed, you may see things like colors or shapes or patterns or memories, pictures. Smelling, not too much unless you're cooking. Tasting. Bodily reactions, so that's any body reaction. So that could be feeling your clothes touching your body, or your butt on the chair, or your back to the back of the chair. It could be warmth, or coolness, or tightness, or looseness, or vibration. Any bodily reaction. So then, in Buddhist psychology, the 6th sense is the mind, which for most of us is very active. We think all day long, and then we dream at night. So this includes not only thoughts, but emotions, feelings, attitudes, perceptions, hopes, and even our dreams. All of those are fair game in meditation. You don't have to stop them. They're fine. So your life and your meditation will overlap. What's happening in your life may come into your sitting. And we encourage that, to be curious about your experience in meditation. Explore it a bit, investigate your experience, and be as gentle as possible with your reactions. Now we'll sit for several minutes, but the meditation doesn't end there. This is what I think makes this practice so unique, is afterwards we'll spend another few minutes reflecting on what actually happened in your meditation. And I encourage you to journal this paper. So I encourage you to write down everything you can remember about your sitting. And try not to judge whether it's important or unimportant or relevant or not relevant. Just put it all down. Now you're not going to remember everything that happened. If you remember 50%, that would be a miracle. So you're just going to journal it. Now I put my journal entries right into my computer. And so I have journal entries going back years. And I can go back 6 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years, and I read them and I go, man, I was really worried about this. It's not happening anymore. So I encourage you to journal and recall your sitting. And the final step is to share some of that sitting with your teacher, moi, or someone who's familiar with this process. In my group, we have time for people to share their whole sitting if they want to. But today we'll only have time for you to share little snippets of your sitting. And I'll ask you a couple of questions and about what happened in your sitting. Now, this is not to ask you about your childhood, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your spouse, your potty training. That's therapy. This is meditation. I only ask you questions about what happened in your sitting to help you kind of flesh out some of the details. See some things that maybe you didn't pay attention to or that was surprising to you. We don't offer advice or give suggestions either. So we trust that your inner wisdom will be tapped through this meditation process, and that will be enough. Okay, so let me stop. Any questions so far? Yes?
In meditation, do you do a mantra?
In this meditation, no. We sit quietly. We don't do a guided meditation and we don't do a mantra. But if that's your practice, go ahead and do it. It's fine. You can do your usual practice and just add the last 2 steps. That's it.
Do you purposely try to stop thinking about whatever's on your mind?
No.
No.
I do if I've gone far enough and I go, I'm tired of that. But as a rule, no, I want to see where that takes me. I want to see how it unfolds. And I might do it for the whole meditation. I might do it for 5 minutes. I might do it for 10. It kind of depends on how much I'm interested in it. But as a rule, no. Because that's where you learn. You see how your mind and your heart and your body works. Thank you. That's a good question. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll sit and meditate. I will ring a bell at the beginning of the sitting and at the end of the sitting, and then there'll be a reflection and journaling, and I'll ring another bell, and then we'll do the sharing. Okay? So let me review those questions again. I want to say one more thing. Sitting quietly and being with yourself is a challenge. Most of the time we're busy. We're doing things all the time. Places to go, people to see, things to do, not checking your cell phone, not answering emails, to just sit quietly. It's a challenge. We don't usually do that. So here's the questions, and just pick one. Don't try to take all of them in. All right, let's see where I am. Oops. Here we go. What do you believe in your heart of hearts about yourself and your worries? What do you expect to happen when you worry? Do you think you shouldn't worry? Do you wish you didn't worry? How do you feel when people tell you, that's nothing to worry about? Do you say those things to yourself? And how do you feel? What do you say to yourself when you just can't stop worrying? So pick one of those questions, take that into your meditation, and that's it. And if none of those interest you, go with what interests you. Okay? All right, so find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and I'll ring the bell. Okay, you can continue to write if you need to. That's fine. Is anybody willing to share a piece of their meditation? Yes. She's way in the back. This is where you need a voice.
Oh, sorry.
I'm an actor when I can do it, and it's fun, and I get to project. Go ahead.
What I wrote and what I was thinking is, how can I make my worry be constructive and not destructive? Can I look within and find the root cause of the worry? And can I then reach toward creating a solution to the cause or problem?
So that sounds like those were some of your hopes in terms of worrying. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. And how did it feel when you were going through the sitting? Did you have any particular mood or hope?
I think a sense that if this can happen, I can feel relief.
Mm-hmm.
And I can feel more centered and just feel more comfortable. There will be more worries, but if I can approach worry this way, perhaps overall it'll, help. Let it be part of a problem solving.
Mm-hmm. And did you feel the relief anywhere in your body?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I look at it as two ways. There's that saying, worry only robs the day of its strength. And also, I always use worry to get me prepared for things that might be unexpected. So I kind of see it both ways.
Uh-huh. That's one of the benefits of worry. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, thank you.
I worry about growing old.
Join the world. Yeah, this is a time when our mortality and morbidity just comes right front and center. Yeah. How did it feel to think about that in the meditation?
Worrisome.
Worrisome. Okay. Did you feel that somewhere in your body?
Yes, right here in my shoulder. It hurts a lot.
In your right shoulder?
My right shoulder.
Ah, okay. Was it a throbbing pain or a tingling pain or discomfort?
It's a pain that's there all the time.
All the time. So you noticed it more during the sitting?
Yeah, or thought about it, yeah.
Thought about it. Mm-hmm.
Move my shoulder back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stand up straight. Mom said that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. One more. Yes.
It's okay.
Oh, did you want to share?
Oh, I was just gonna say, originally, when you hit the chime, and this wasn't a worry, I missed the chime.
Oh, I need to ring them louder.
I loved, no. I loved the sound of it.
Ah.
It kind of just carried me away. I honestly felt very peaceful with this. So,
Oh.
I mean, I floated.
It's a wonderful one.
I did. I had a really nice experience.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of colors. I heard old songs that I hadn't even thought about hearing. I saw myself walking on sand. It was just, I found it a very peaceful experience. So is that to say that I don't worry? No. It's just to say that I think I deal with worry relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that experience, just that short span of time, very relaxing for me.
Nice.
And I thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. It is interesting how that comes up. Even if you start feeling, I mean, I've had my experience and other people I've worked with, they'll start there sitting and they'll be someplace else and then they'll end up somewhere else. I mean, and they'll go through all these changes that they never expected. You can't predict what's going to happen in your sitting. You just can't predict it. It's kind of like, for me sometimes it feels like I'm going on a roller coaster ride. Okay, we need to move on or I'm never going to get to any of this stuff. But oh, you guys are so cool. Okay, so when we really look at our expectations, we see that they represent our hopes and our dreams, our desires, and even our fantasies. They come from the deepest part of ourself. And in reflective meditation, we want to become familiar with these things. These are important because I said before, if you don't know them, they're going to come along and bite you in the butt. They sneak up on you. It's okay to want to stop worrying. That's natural. It's a human desire. But acknowledge it. Learn from that hope. What does that hope tell you about yourself? What is underneath that normal desire to not worry? This is part of our human condition. Now, one person over here talked about the benefits of worry. So there are benefits, but we usually think about how awful it is and how we don't want to do it and should stop and it's a waste of time, blah, 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 blah. But if there wasn't an upside, we would stop it. If it was just a downside, we would have let it go a long time ago, but it's both. So what are some of the other benefits of worrying?
Oh, you get things accomplished.
You get things accomplished, What else? Problem solving, yes.
I think it can bring to your awareness some things you may not be have identified or really are aware of. So
Yeah, yeah.
consider that.
Yeah, there are a lot of benefits. I brought this up in one of my classes, and there was a woman in the group who was a master worrier. And she said, "Are you crazy? Benefits?" So we sat with it, and we did a much longer sit. She came up with a longer list of benefits than anybody else in the group. Surprised her and me. So there are benefits. It's really kind of interesting that we don't even think about it. But the tension between the upside and the downside keeps us locked into place. We need to acknowledge both. We need to know how it hurts us and how it helps us. Okay, so here's another one. How much time do I have? Okay. How we worry, what we worry about, what are our habits and patterns when we worry. This is a lifelong pattern for most of us. It's a huge topic. We're only going to take a piece of it. When you look at your unique process of worrying, it'll uncover your patterns from childhood. Now, I learned how to worry from my mom. She was a master worrier. She taught me really, really well, all through my childhood and through my adulthood. But then I got reinforced in school and other family members and our society and culture. Oh, I learned it really good. So here's some questions for our next sitting. And you only need to take one in. When do you worry most? Morning? Noon? Night? Is there any pattern? How does the worry start? What keeps the worry going? What brings it to a close? Does it fade away or just kind of disappear? What does your body feel like when you worry? What are the thoughts that accompany your worry? How do you feel about the worry itself? Is there any judgment about yourself or your worry? You see, there's lots to explore, and you can only take in one question to really go into any depth. So pick the one that kind of piques your interest. Don't try to go through all of them. You'll never get through them. And I'll repeat them later. This time I want you to take an actual worry into your sitting, but pick a small to middling sized worry. Not the worst worry of your life. This is practice, so we need to take something that's a little bit more manageable. Worry is a deeply ingrained habit of mind, speech, and action. So be gentle with yourself. Instead of directly attacking the stop the worry, we're going to take a little different approach. We're going to treat it with kindness, with curiosity. You can't do this wrong. We're interested in developing insight. So we want to understand our worries, how to become familiar with them, explore how they help us and how they hurt us. How do we live with the uncertainty of worry? All of these questions can be taken into your meditations over a period of time. After some time, you'll see things from a different perspective. You won't be quite so trapped into the worry. Now, you've only had a chance to work with a couple of these questions today, but it takes a little bit of time. So we're going to sit again, and I want to go through these questions and just pick one, okay? And pick a small worry, small to middling size worry. Don't pick a big one. So here's some of the questions. When do you worry the most? Morning, noon, night, or anytime? How does the worry start? What keeps the worry going? What brings it to a close? Does it just fade away, or does it just kind of disappear? What does your body feel like when you worry? What thoughts accompany your worry? And how do you feel about yourself when you worry? Is there any judgment about yourself or your worry? So pick one. Okay? Any questions? Okay, then I'll ring the bell. Okay. Anyone willing to share a snippet of your sitting? Yes.
I focused on when I worry the most. And
Uh-huh.
it happened last night. I woke up, as I knew I would, went to the bathroom, and then, tossed around a little bit, started, I have a cat that's not doing real well, and so he's consuming my energies right now. And then that led me to start thinking about other things, like, oh my gosh, I forgot I should have checked an email about something, and then it kind of cascades. And I find that nighttime, when I'm worrying about whatever it is the worst, because typically when I wake up, I'll have more of an action plan. And a few minutes ago, when I had my eyes closed, I thought, I could almost drift off. I felt more peaceful. So I'm going to try some of these little mini meditations. I think there's something to it.
So it started with a worry, and you ended up feeling relaxed.
Yeah, more than I was.
Yeah, more than you were.
Yeah.
And usually you start meditating, you start worrying at nighttime. That is our most vulnerable time, is at nighttime. It's when we do all of our catastrophic thinking.
Yeah.
Is at nighttime, at 11, 12, 1, 2 in the morning.
And it just seems like often one thing will lead to another thought about a whole different, thing to worry about.
Yeah, and you noticed it, you followed that thread. And that's a piece of the meditation, is noticing what is happening. Just noticing that is enough.
Yeah. I think this is helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I find that I worry as I'm about to fall asleep because my mind is not active with other activities. So I have time to worry about stuff in another sense. But I have found that, like, if I have stuff I know I need to do the other day, the next day, I make a list. If I need, then I don't have to worry about at least that kind of thing. And sometimes I've just taken a class through Ollie about breathing, and the way they teach you to breathe helps relaxation too. So I'm finding that to be very helpful.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I'm kind of the opposite of the first lady. I go to sleep, I'm tired, I sleep for 4 or 5 hours, then when I wake up, my mind wakes up and I start thinking about things.
In the middle of the night?
Early morning.
Early morning. Yeah, that's the middle of the night for me.
And then after that, I either have to get up, sometimes I try the relaxation in bed, I have to get up, start drinking coffee, exercise.
So in this sitting, did you think about a particular worry? Did you recall?
Not a particular worry about when I worry.
When you worry.
And I have a few that are regular.
Regular visitors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like we're making friends with our worry.
Well, one thing I read recently about handling conflict kind of helps me a little bit in that you think of it as a commodity. So it's not so emotionally attaching, and then you can figure out how to deal with it, and it's not life or death.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you have several good strategies. So you can add this one to the bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Thank you. This is I was thinking about my class that I do. It's 5 weeks, 7.5 hours. And after the last time I taught it, I had so much more material. I could do another series. There's just so much to understand about how we worry, how do we add on to our worries that make things even more difficult. And then noticing it is really important. We tend to judge ourselves and get real critical about how we handle things, how we handle stress. And noticing the judgment is important. Learning about that. How does that happen? How did I go from there to there? What was that just was that arc? And I often do that in the reflection period. I don't often, sometimes I do, I'm aware of it in the sitting, but often I'm not aware of it because I'm so involved in it that I do it in the reflection period. And then in the sharing gets me a lot of juice with my teacher. So let me ask you a question. How am I doing on time? I go to 25, I get 10 minutes, right?
Your session actually was 12:35 is when you.
Oh, 35. Oh, I
10
thought
minutes before is 12:25.
Oh, I thought I had till 25. Oh, terrific. Oh, great.
You were worried.
I was worried. Yes, I was worried. Yes, I mean, we're going to worry. I mean, what are you going to do? So another piece is having a good sense of humor. Really laughing at your predicament. Sometimes it's like, why am I worrying about this? I cannot let it go. What is happening here? Why has this got me? And really sitting with that feeling of being, strangled with it. Kind of uncomfortable. So what is your predominant feeling associated with worry? How do you feel when you can't stop worrying? What?
Anxious.
Anxious. Yes. What else? Frustrated. Restless. Somebody said high blood pressure, yeah. What else? How do you feel? Tense. And you feel it in your body. Mm-hmm. What else? Tired. Yeah, it wears you out. Does anybody feel helpless?
Yeah.
Powerless? Loss of control? Is it any wonder we want to stop worrying?
Yeah.
Those are not easy mind states to be with. They're really hard. So we have all these creative strategies on how to avoid it, how not to think about it, how to put it out of our head. It's uncomfortable. And because it's uncomfortable, we found all kinds of ways to avoid them. Now, if you avoid all the time as a pattern, that's probably not healthy. But again, there's an upside to avoiding. When you're at low ebb, when you haven't slept well, or you don't feel good, or I don't know, life's too stressful, that's not the time for you to sit with difficult mind states. You need to have some energy, have some ability to sit with it. And one of the cautions we give to people who are meditating is that if in the course of your sitting, things get too much, they get overwhelming, you don't want to go anymore, just stop. Just stop. And take a deep breath. Open your eyes, look around the room, focus on objects in the room. Get up and go get a drink of water, and then come back and sit again. But we used to really tell people to sit with pain. Those were many years ago. And what happened is people actually got injured. I used to be taught, I was taught when I first started for several years, that if you have pain, either physical or emotional, to sit with it. And what people ended up with is injuries to their knees and to their hips. This was a time when we were sitting on the floor. Not anymore. And I had a friend who went into congestive heart failure and tried to sit with it. So, no, don't, that is not appropriate. We're now training people to look at, not traumatizing yourselves. If things get too much, stop. It'll come back. You'll have another chance to deal with it, and you might have more ability to sit with it. But if it gets to be too much, quit. Take a break. Shift gears. Think about something else. As a teacher said that. Oh, think about something else. Okay. You can think about your grocery list, for God's sakes, if you want to. Just shift gears. Give yourself a little break. I think our worries go away when the energy that charges them up lessens. Seeing the energy itself, understanding that charge, keeps going, keeps shifting you in a different relationship with worry. So when you're charged up, it's like, oh, what the heck is going on? What is this? What's going on here? What's happening inside of me? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What's going on in my body? That helps you shift and change your relationship to worry. So the focus isn't on stopping the worry, it's the process of worrying. It's really different. And doing your best not to judge yourself or criticize yourself along the way. We're really critical. Really, we're trained to be that way. But I have till 35. Woo! This is fun. Okay. Okay, so we need others to listen to our experience, to hear us, to reflect back what they hear, to ask questions that will help us understand our experience more. That's why the reflection and the conversation is so important. Now, if some of you have different kinds of meditation backgrounds, you might have a mantra, you might do breath, follow breath, you might do a body scan, that's fine. But then afterwards, to spend some time in reflection and journaling, and if you can find a teacher to talk with you about it, doesn't have to be every week. I have a group that meets every week, but you don't have to come every week. And, we get a chance to talk about our sitting. It's really important to get it outside your head. Instead of running around in there over and over and over again. And sharing in a safe, comfortable place provides you with that extra support so that you can really take a look at those worries. Lots of things can come up in meditation, from the boring and mundane to delightful things to wonderful things to uncomfortable and even painful things. The whole gamut. Because you are opening yourself up. Meditation is not for sissies. And that's why I say, take care of yourself. Be gentle. I have a little sticky note right here on my computer because I tend to forget this for myself. And I was sharing a sitting in my little cohort group, and one of them persons asked me, where is the kindness in your sitting? And I don't think about that for me. I think about it for other people, but I don't think about it for me. So I wrote it on a sticky note here, so that every time I open up my computer, I see it. And then I added 3 other things. Where is the kindness in your life? Where is the kindness with people you don't like? And where is the kindness with people you disagree with? Yeah, those are difficult. But this is a little reminder to add some kindness to myself. Have a little compassion for how going through difficult stuff. I mean, my God, look at what's happening in this world. Now, the Buddha taught that a certain amount of unhappiness is simply a fact of life. Our inheritance as humans. And he talked about 3 that are common to everyone. If you've ever done any reading or studying about Buddhism and meditation, there's all these lists. 3 of those, 4 of those, 2 of these, 8 of those, 10 of those. This is 3. I call them the big ticket items. Hopefully we get to old age, sickness, and death. None of us escape that. And he also said that, ironically, the more you struggle with the reality of that, the more unhappiness you create. And so you take those in little bits and pieces. And they'll come up. I've noticed this whole issue around mortality and morbidity in my health comes up fairly regularly in kind of subtle and nuanced ways. It's not like direct staring me in the face, but it's like, oh my gosh, that's what this was all about. And it's because of our age, it's where we're at in our life. Of course it's going to come up. We talk about sitting to your tolerance. So doing more than that is harmful. So like I'm saying, if it's too much, if you feel overwhelmed, you just need a break, take a break. Stop. They don't expect you to white knuckle your way through this difficult stuff. Just Be gentle, be compassionate. People like to think meditation is risk-free. It is not. It's not often talked about, but there are some negative side effects. And so you really need to go slowly and carefully in your meditations. You need to know how much is too much. 5 or 10? 10? Okay. How much is too much? How long should I sit with this very uncomfortable state? This very uncomfortable worry? When should I stop? When is it okay for me to proceed a little further? When should I push myself just a little bit? And how do I decide how far to go? Those are real important questions to think about. Look at your own reactions. What are your warning signs that you've gone too far, that you've pushed yourself too far? And oftentimes it's in the body. Churning stomach, tightness in the body, nausea, feeling like you're going to choke or you want to run away. Those are clear signs you need to stop. Feeling cold or hot, your heart pounding, those are obvious clues. So you need to know, what are your clues? What are your tender points that you know you shouldn't go far in this? It's much better to take a little peek at difficult things than to throw the doors open and say, okay, come on in. I have a person, he's been coming to my group for, he finally said, I think I've been coming for 7 years. And I'm going, really? He said, yeah. I said, I was in your Reconnect class like 7 years ago. And I'm going, man, have you come a long way. You know, when you're didn't get enough sleep, when you're feeling ill, you're on a pressing to-do list, you have a lot of stresses in your life. It's harder to sit with worry. So make it short sittings and change your shift gears quickly. You also need to add a healthy dose of patience and kindness. Patience and kindness as you go through this, as things unfold for you. Know your own history and what your tender spots are. If you have trauma in your history, then you need to know that you need to be careful. Go slow. Go slow. Take a peek and then close the door again. Look at it for maybe just 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then close the door again. You'll make further progress if you do that instead of pushing. That does not work. What triggers guilt, embarrassment, shame? You need to know that. Curiosity is a value in reflective meditation. It's a huge value, along with kindness and compassion, flexibility. These will serve you in your moving towards changing your relationship to worry. I'm going to leave some time. Any last minute questions? Yes?
How do you think this works with, it's an intimate process, so how does this work between people who are, married or live together? Is this something that is adaptable to that, or
You mean worries
or
between...
should you just do it in an anonymous setting with people you don't know?
So your question was,
How does this mindfulness work if you're in an intimate relationship, like a child and parent, or a spouse
Sure.
kind of thing, or people you know really well, versus the anonymous
I want to
people?
proselytize and have everybody meditate, but that's probably not a good plan. Your meditation is for you. It's for you. And you changing yourself will change all the other things around you, because everything is dependent on something else. Nothing stays the same. So if I change, there's going to be some changes around me. They may not like my change. They may want the old me. But if I change, it's going to have a ripple effect. But you need to focus on yourself. If they want to meditate, great, good. But if they don't push it. Yeah, it's easy to do that. Good question. Yes?
On the exercise, you said for the exercise to pick a small worry. So how do you know, when you can pick a big worry and how long? So you just do it like you said until you feel comfortable?
I did it today because I knew we had a little bit of
Right.
time.
So if you pick a big worry, just allow a lot of time to do it?
Yeah, or that you only take it in pieces. Yeah, yeah. And sometimes my worries just come. I don't get to pick. They just come. You know, life happens. And it just comes. And so I take it in little pieces. Yeah, good question. How much time do I have? Oh, good, I have 5 minutes. I wanted to do a final meditation where you just get to relax, open yourself up. Don't even have to take any worries in. Don't have to answer any of these questions. But I wanted some time for you to just sit. Okay? And then you can go to lunch. Okay, you ready? Close your eyes, find a comfortable seat, and we'll sit a couple minutes. Now, I know we didn't get to all of your questions and your sharing, but if you, you can always send me an email, and I'll be glad to respond to you. And that's also very easy to remember. It's eld0306@yahoo.com. eld0306@yahoo.com, and then you can always still go on my website. There's a lot of information. There's blogs. It's a way to sign up for classes, whatever. But thank you guys, you were wonderful, and thank you all for sharing, you're so brave. Thank you guys.
Okay, we're going to about get ready to break for lunch. You don't have to leave your tables, but we're asking you a couple things. One, if you can remove your items from the table so they can place the meals, put them underneath your chair, underneath the table, but allow them to have a space to be able to deliver your meals. Two, you need to have your little card for what your meal is, and you need to place it in front of you so they know which meal to deliver. And if you are one of the few people who have allergies, make sure you have the little allergy cards too. Don't be surprised if they have to ask for your name because those meals have been separated from the others. So anyways, we're going to break now, and lunch will be over with by 1:40.